There is a great deal of ignorance about what Toyota RAV4 is, what it can do, and above all, a great ignorance and a great mistake in buying a Toyota RAV4 if you do not consider what it is not and what it cannot do, and it simply can't handle. But you're probably wondering what the problem could be with the world's best-selling compact SUV. Well, that's what we're going to try to understand today, so that you can avoid the big mistake some people have already made when they bought their Toyota RAV4, and thus avoid the problems that these families are already facing. So, what is the great mistake and this great ignorance, Gonzalo? I'm about to tell you, but first, it's important that you know the details so that you don't think we are criticizing without knowing. The first thing you need to know is that yes, we tested the new Toyota RAV4 on this channel when it changed generation in 2019. The Toyota RAV4 we have today is the new generation, and yes, we already tested it. And let me tell you, when I tried it, I loved it. But testing a lot of different cars has given me a lot of more perspective. And also, we already have a lot of information from individuals or families who already have one, who report the same problem. Now, some things I don't like about RAV4 is the screen. It's the first thing that catches my attention. In its most basic versions, the infotainment screen is a bit too small, and I would love to see a bigger one, simply because it is more stylish and it will make your life easier. The other thing I don't like about the screen is the slim buttons on the sides. They are more difficult to play with my fingers. Another detail that I would like to see different in this Toyota RAV4 is that I would love to see a fully digital instrument cluster in its basic versions as well. Or, in the worst case scenario, a trip computer with a 6 or 8 inches display, because a number of its counterparts or rivals have it in all versions. But, well, the other thing I don't like about the new Toyota RAV4 is that despite being an all-wheel drive vehicle and although it can be evenly distributed 50-50, it does not have a reduction to low, which is something most real four-wheel drive vehicles have. And although it does have different driving modes, snow, sand and mud, rock and dirt, the fact that it does not have a reductor to low puts it at a disadvantage with vehicles that do have it, such as Subaru Forester or Mitsubishi Montero, for instance. It even puts it at disadvantage with the Ford Bronco, which has the reduction gearbox since the second version. And while that is an important detail for four-wheel drive enthusiasts, the reality is that even if it doesn't have it, Toyota RAV4 does have a transmission with a first gear ratio of 5:1. And that gear with that ratio fulfills the function of a reduction gearbox. Why? Because regularly in all compact SUVs or cars with a standard manual or automatic transmission, the first gear has a 3:1 ratio. Finding a 5:1 is quite unusual. It's something that the old school calls ground gear, because they were first gear that were only used in four-wheel drive vehicles before they were equipped with reduction gearboxes. These gears are larger, like the one in the Toyota RAV4 in first gear. They allow a lot of torque and very little speed. And that's what a reduction gearbox would do. However, it does not have a reduction gearbox as such, but has a larger first gear, 5:1, which works well. But it is not slow, and when you are on a road under bad conditions, it could represent a problem. Another problem reported by many families who bought a new generation Toyota RAV4 from 2019, 2020 or 2021 is that it had Apple CarPlay around 2019, but it didn't have Android Auto. And this is annoying for those with Android smartphones. Toyota, however, has now implemented both systems. Also, in its basic versions, the infotainment display is smaller and I would like to see a bigger screen. I will keep saying that. What I do have to recognize is that the design of the new generation Toyota RAV4 is much more aggressive, with more angular edges on the exterior, sharper lines on the body, grille, the bonnet, taillights and the boot. This design is appealing to many people because they feel it's tougher and more aggressive and robust. Some say it is a more masculine design, but the perception of gender in a design is more related to the idiosyncrasy of the society than to the design itself. I regularly complain about the lack of USB and charging ports in vehicles because I am someone who needs them a lot. However, this Toyota RAV4 does include 5 USB ports from its third and fourth versions and 3 USB ports in its first and second version. Now, you are probably wondering why Toyota RAV4 is the world's best-selling compact SUV. In Mexico and Latin America, it is the 5th place of SUVs, taking into account small and the compact SUVs, and in 2nd place among compact SUVs behind Honda CR-V. But why is it that the world's best-selling SUV is in its 5th place in sales in our country? Well, the first reason is the price. Seltos, Tracker and Taos have a more affordable price than RAV4. Therefore, RAV4's price is comparable to Honda CR-V. And what does the latter have that RAV4 doesn't? Well, in my country, its popularity. For some reason that I still do not understand, in my country, Honda CR-V has been a big seller, and basically, people buy it because it's popular. Yes, it is well equipped, it has a good engine, and I personally believe that the CVT transmission with which it is equipped, although it's very fuel efficient and reliable, it's not the most exciting transmission, and it's not the one I would put on a vehicle I'm using to off-roading, because it won't respond accordingly. So, if you're wondering why buy RAV4 rather than CR-V, the first reason is because you're looking for a compact SUV to drive off paved roads on the mountains without running the risk of getting stuck as CR-V would, since it doesn't have permanent four-wheel drive and that first gear reducer with a lot of torque and low speed. There is something we can't ignore, and that is the issue of security. How safe or unsafe can Toyota RAV4 be versus its counterpart? We can say that when the first generation in 2019 was just launched in the country, it had 7 airbags, including the driver's knee airbag. While the last time I checked the datasheet on Toyota's official website, RAV4 2022 has only 6 airbags, 2 front, 2 side and 2 cushioned, but the latter do cover up second row seats, so they work as 8 airbags. That is really good. Furthermore, the body is reinforced with shock-absorbing zones and has been awarded a rating of this many stars in the collision tests. Therefore, we can conclude that RAV4 is a very safe, compact SUV. Another problem families are reporting is it didn't have radar or front sensors to enhance active safety. It didn't have advanced system of lane keeping assistance, no lane departure alert, nor did it have dynamic radar cruise control, let alone a front collision mitigation system. But competition in this segment has increased in recent years, and today the Toyota RAV4 already has all these features: lane departure alert, lane tracking assist, dynamic radar cruise control, as well as pre-collision alerts, which in the worst case scenario can help you apply braking pressure to the brake discs in the event of a pedestrian crossing or a bicycle or whatever really. So when it comes to airbags and active safety assist, RAV4 has already caught up with its competitors. You're probably wondering if Toyota RAV4's biggest problem has to do with space. Surely it's a very small SUV, which is overrated, and you shouldn't buy it because it doesn't fit anything inside. And I have to admit that, no, we would be wrong if we were to believe this to be true. The reality is that RAV4 is quite wide. In fact, I've seen it tested by other video makers who are taller than me, like Gabo Salazar from Autodinámico, where they fit perfectly in the back seat of the van. Another nice detail of the size is that the boot is quite spacious. When I did the test, I was able to fit perfectly seated, with legs and arms stretched out and the boot door closed. The rear seats fold down 60 or 40 degrees, allowing you to carry bulkier objects. Gonzalo, if space and safety are not the problem and neither is the infotainment, then the engine must be the biggest problem that RAV4 faces nowadays. Well, let me tell you that you might be a little bit right, or maybe not, depending on how you see it. I'll explain. Toyota RAV4 is powered by a 2.5-litre naturally aspired 4-cylinder engine that delivers 206 horsepower and 179 pound-foot of torque. This is the most powerful engine in the segment, but other compact SUVs are equipped with turbocharged engines, which may have a little more power. However, this is not an old engine. This is the latest generation Toyota engine, which even includes direct injection technology to maximize fuel efficiency and get more power out of the vehicle when it needs it. Also, off-road, uphill or downhill, fully loaded, those 204 horsepower will be useful, very useful, especially when compared to other SUVs that have less than 204 horsepower. Where you will suffer is if you go above 3,000 meters above sea level, because that's where any naturally aspired engine is going to feel the lack of oxygen in the atmosphere, and you will see some loss of power. But it is precisely to compensate for that Toyota uses the direct injection system in the engine for higher compression, better fuel efficiency and more power and torque if needed. It is an engine that you should not be afraid of revving up, because it's not going to force itself, because it is a vehicle that you will be able to take off-road, and this is where high revs and heavy workloads are common. So if the problem isn't the engine, it's probably the transmission. As a matter of fact, it isn't. The transmission is very good because it is a conventional automatic transmission. Although Toyota equips it with electronic control, which means there is an intelligent computer that controls it, Toyota claims that its transmission has intelligence of its own, allowing it to adapt to different types of roads better than others. Plus, as I said, it has the 5-to-1 first gear that acts as a gearbox transfer reductor, so to speak. This means that when you drive in the city or any other road that isn't off-road, Toyota RAV4 will start moving in second gear because it has a radio of 3-to-1, which is a normal radio for any first gear for any other vehicle. So you'll have 7 gears for normal driving, including the high speeds on the motorway, which makes it very efficient, and much more stronger gear with 5-to-1 radio for off-road situation. I hope this makes sense to you. So, if the engine isn't the problem, and if the transmission isn't the problem, neither is the space nor the security, and if the new generation of Toyota RAV4 has everything that it didn't have before, then where is the huge mistake of buying one? Why is the world's best-selling compact SUV not selling so well in our country? Well, if you ask me, I think that although it is a very capable SUV and a fantastic four-wheel drive, most people in my country do not need such systems in their daily lives. And being so many people are not willing to pay for something they will not use 90% of the time. The mistake and Some ignorance lies in thinking that Toyota RAV4 is a bad car. The truth is, it is not. It is a very well-equipped car with a lot of security, but many families who have bought it after a few years realize that 99% of the time they did not use the off-road capabilities of the vehicle, and that maybe they could have saved some money buying the most basic version of that car or any other car whatsoever. Other than that, anyone who has a RAV4 in their life and get the most out of it will tell you that they are happy to own a reliable and durable car with good resale value, and that it performs well on the most difficult roads. It might not have the off-road capabilities of a Jeep Wrangler, however, it is very good at what it does, and that is something that annoys those who just criticize. See you next video.